Hello YouTube, the most popular Final Fantasy Dragoon is getting an LD, Kain. He's got some nice stuff with the chill fight alongside it, so let's get right into it. In this video, before you pull for Kain, I'll go over his kit, give you some things to think about before you use your limited resources. If you're not familiar with my channel, I play both JP and Global, and I use that knowledge and experience to form my own opinions, and I give my personal plans in the video to put some skin in the game and give players an example of how to potentially think. I like hearing y'all's plans too, so go ahead in the comments and leave what you are planning to do for the banner and the fight. Like the video as well, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell so you don't miss a video. I do read comments, but if you want to make sure I reply to you, you can go ahead and become a channel member. You get access to emotes on the channel, and during my live stream, the Ranting Hour, you can check that out in the playlist. It's really fun stuff. I enjoy it every week, so go check it out. Kain's role in the party is that of a damage dealer. He has all range, and now with his LD, he becomes a ranged off-turn damage dealer. He's not getting a rework, but his LD is loaded enough to justify it. Kain's LD gives him a new overhead buff. This buff isn't very exciting, gives him the normal offensive stats, brave and HP damage up. This buff is stackable, and it goes up every time Kain uses an ability. This does not include calls, but it does include his additional ability. When Kain finally reaches 4 stacks, his brave attack changes into double jump. When you press double jump, Kain jumps and leaves the field. He also delays his next turn like Sync does. While he is in the air, he is not affected by a ton of things. He can't get battery, he can't get HP attacked, he can't receive a buff, he can't receive a debuff. Even Lufenia orbs won't kill him. Additionally, if the turn order is right and Kain's in a launch, then he will actually partake in it. And the cherry on top is he will not deplete his brave when he HP attacks in midair. Anyway, now for the actual follow-up. Anytime anyone on the field does anything, so boss turns, party turns, calls, C65s, you name it. You name it! Kain will do his Lancet follow-up. It's an AoE brave plus HP, but Kain does not deplete his brave, so he can get pretty high with good HP caps, and he can be contributing a lot of off-turn damage. It's pretty brainless because it's just set and forget. And then when Kain's turn finally comes back, he will land. He'll do a double brave plus HP and battery everyone. I went through all that to say the actual attack is a single target brave plus HP that has splash on it, and it will get Kain to 4 stacks immediately. So you can either build up the stacks over time by using his skills regularly, which will feel awful because no rework, or you can just LD, get him to 4 stacks, and make him leave. That's largely going to be Kain's use cases right now. He's got attack hammer plus, which leans in the HP split, which makes sense because you want him holding as much brave as possible and hitting those caps in midair to optimize his off-turn damage, and his calls are nothing significant. So now for my breakdown, let's give some of Kain's strengths. Off-turn damage. He is so easy to abuse with off-turn stuff, especially with launch comps, which is cool because Selphie and Caius both launch, fits the synergy. So if you're running launch teams, no boss turns, etc., while Kain isn't contributing anything in terms of auras, when he leaves, he can actually hold on to call effects. So say you throw the Kate LD call and a Roja LD call, or something that has a normally low duration on it, Kain can use that, jump, and if he doesn't ever come back down, you can have that up the entire fight. That is amazing. Depending on how high your HP caps are stacked and your HP damage up, Kain can do a ludicrous amount of damage, and because he triggers in the BT phase, he's also very strong for amping those up as well. I cannot state enough how simple Kain is to use. Get the 4 stacks, jump, forget. It's that simple. So he pairs nicely with like Sidmao, and because the launches and then the delays, and then he'll be HP attacking midair and not losing his break, so he's contributing a whole lot of damage. If you need to do an orb that does X type of damage condition, just like all off-turn units, Kain will be spectacular for that because he will always be contributing because his damage is going off constantly. You don't need to even attack the boss. You can let him get turns and Kain will still attack constantly. As for Kain's weaknesses, his skills are really bad. You don't ever want to press them. In fact, largely, if you're not having Kain in the air pretty much all battle, it's going to feel very bad because, like I said, his skills suck. So if you're not playing to that strength of having him barely act and pairing along with a turn hogger, then Kain's potential is largely going to be wasted, as he's not contributing anything to the party outside of off-turn damage and potentially being a delayed call holder. Kain flying in the air as your off-turn damage dealer, he will unfortunately not be able to likely be swapped out for a friend just because he's leaving. They'll turn manipulation and you can't get him back. Like he's going to delay himself and you need to deal with that. So if you're going to swap someone else, it needs to be someone on the ground. You can't buff him while he's in midair. While he can take advantage of auras like BT auras and buffs, etc. If, like, say if you wanted to put wall on him to, like, if you were expecting a dangerous HP attack when he comes back down and you wanted to like mitigate some brave damage or put a cover on him, you literally like Ignis's EX, Onion Knight's LD, whatever, or Core linking up with someone. Core would have to link with Kain before he leaves in the air, or else he's not selectable by anything. Like everything misses him. So if you're not ready with that, yikes. Kain is also not pumping out enough damage on his turns to be a primary damage dealer. So you need to overcompensate on the field, either with a really strong damage dealer or a really strong party buff, but you need to have damage on the ground is what I'm trying to say. And without proper turn manipulation, it's going to be wasted. Potential teams for Kain: Sid Mao, obviously, because the launches, you can abuse that. Like launch teams in general, really. Like Kais, will battery him, Lael, everyone in all the launch teams really work well with Kain, and I'm glad they did it like that. Turn hoggers like Tidus work fine, and Kain can also work as just a friend unit. He can come in, LD, jump, and then Tidus core can go nuts. I can see Tidus, Kain, core being nuts. Cloud of Darkness, Vayne. There's so many turn hoggers in this game, and they will all work with Kain, provided that he is properly supported. BT phases love him, and he's also very good with delayers. So like I said, you can take advantage of those mid-air launches without dumping Brave. I guess in that regard, Dark Knight Cecil work well with him, which is pretty cool lore-wise. As for useful fights for Kain, because he's an off-turner and a good one at that, he ticks a lot of things, but things specifically that come out to me are Friends, Act 3, Chapter 5, Part 2, where you need to deal range weakness damage. He can hit that, obviously, because he's ranged. I think he can hit Layla's orb, because when he's in the air, he's dodging technically. And just general use case, Saz, where you gotta crit, Snow, where you can deal, what's it called, ice damage, Ursula, where you gotta be battered to 100% by the every third turn. Like, Kain is so flexible that he's gonna be a valuable team member in any comp, provided you can build him to max his damage. With all that said, what are my plans for Kain's banner? I'm personally skipping. I don't see myself using him. I actually free pulled Kain's LD on a ticket in JP, and I forgot I had him like right up until he had FR, which was hilarious. I tend not to run turn hogs and stuff like that, so I probably would not end up using Kain a lot, but I do think he's very good, but just not for me. I also have no interest in Caius's BT, so I wouldn't want to chance it here. Yeah, just not for me. For my pull advice for anyone on the fence, if you're decided, whatever, ignore this, but as usual, if you're stuck, try to beat the fight without pulling. Use call to arms, discord, etc. because there's strategies around fights without using the featured character always. If you like running turn hogs like Vayne, Shulk, Tidus, etc., Kain's a good grab. If you're not used to that playstyle and you're not willing to run it, then Kain's not going to really feel that great to you because you're not getting into his highest potential. If you're not ready to stack HP damage up and HP caps to get really that nutty damage out of him, then you won't feel as great as well. If you don't have any range damage in your party, I still think this is not a great banner to pull on, just because if you're stuck on the fight, you could just use a Kain friend and then turn hog with reins or something and actually finish the fight with ease. And him having an FR and BT in the future kind of ruined a lot of discourse. Some people are like, let me get the LD now so I can worry about the weapons later. But the truth is, if you're interested in playing Kain, you're already going to grab him here. And by the time his FR and BT come in JP, the game's gonna, in GL, excuse me, the foresight at that moment is going to be drastically different than how Kain looks right now. I remember back when people were hyping BT Squall, and then BT Squall came in global, and people were like, "Oh no, skip for his rework." So that happens. So don't skip out on a character if you like them, just because they get a better upgrade way down the line. But at the same time, I wouldn't pull for something that's coming down the line. I would decide on the banner when it is actually a character that gets upgraded. So yeah, turn hog enjoyers, launch enjoyers, etc. This is a good character for you to pick up. If not, and if your roster's fleshed out, you should be obviously trying to get anything anyways. Otherwise, I think you could safely pass on Kain. I never felt like there was a fight where I really needed him, but obviously he can be very useful. As for the fight itself, and by the way, if you're listening at this point, I'm wondering how much you guys care about me talking about fights. I was considering not doing it as much, or maybe tweaking how I talk about fights, maybe less, because the fights aren't going to be that interesting in the next month, and I don't like looking into the fights that much either, to be honest. So in the comments, again, if you're listening this far, I guess it'll be a tell if people are actually listening, because engagement does drop off around when I talk about the fights. That's why I'm curious. But let me know what you think about me just briefly touching on the fights. But anyways, the fight is against the Sayador Centipedes. They have the annoying debuff. There's a lot of mechanics in this fight, and I don't know any of them because in JP I know boss turned. I just pushed them back with like Tidus. Okay, I just double checked my video. I didn't know boss turn him, but I didn't let them get many turns. I went nuts with Tidus and kind of mowed him down because his attack is range damage. But yeah, +2 on range and +2 if you do 500k with range, which I don't know who can do that. Regardless, if you have a Kain friend and you have a turn hog, the orb is kind of not an issue. It's probably the path of least resistance is to no boss turn them. If you do let them get turns, they end up framing their turns and they do some other nasty stuff. I think it's just a direct copy of the what's it called, the Tidus fight we got, and Tidus kind of trivialized that too, so you can kind of do the same thing here, just delay him and then do your thing. Barret is synergy here, so I kind of contractually have to run him Prompto can hit the range, Maria can hit the range. Both, well, Prompto's on turn follow ups and Maria's off turn. Kamari's range. We got a lot of good range. Trey, because they do Brave gains. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is when they're gonna release Lena around this time, maybe in between Ida and Kain, because Lena was good here for keeping your HP up. Although they do drop a HP poison debuff that you can't evade, but still would be good. But yeah, I definitely want to run a delay team because I'm lazy. Not too bad of a fight in my opinion. But that's all I got to talk about. Again, let me know what you're thinking in the comments. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell, memberships, all that good stuff. Ranting Hour, check that out. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.